Hi, it's Victor Chang from caseinterview.com, and today I'll be talking about how to prepare for a case interview in 7 days or less. First, let me put a major caveat on this. While I have had students successfully get a job offer from McKinsey, Bain, and BCG with under 7 days of practice, it definitely is rare, it's definitely the exception, and difficult to do, right? Most people put in 50 hours of practice and to be really successful and get good outcomes. That said, sometimes you got no choice, right? And in that situation, you got to do the best you can with what you have to work with. So if that's you and you have 7 days to prepare, here's what I suggest. First 2 days, focus on conceptual understanding. Next 4 days, working on practicing the cases, particularly with somebody else, ideally. And then the last day, that 7th day, work on some math skills I think are very useful and important that are applicable in case interviews. So how does this look like? First 2 days, I would use 2 resources, and ideally both. First, read my book, Case Interview Secrets. It's on Amazon, all the major online booksellers, and it really lays out what does this case interview thing look like, right? There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. There's a very weird interview, right? It's a really weird interview. You've never seen it before. It's not like a traditional job interview. So you have to have some familiarity with what it looks like so you can at least sort of mentally prepare for it. The second resource would be to look at my YouTube video series on how to prepare for the case interview. It's very well known. It's been, watched a gazillion million times by people who are all in the industry today. And that way you can hear what I talk about in the book, but also hear and see what an interview looks like, right? What does it sound like? What's the language that's used? And get a grasp of that. So that's what I would do the first 2 days. Understand what it's supposed to look like. Okay? The next 4 days, I would focus on practicing case interviews. And you can do that really 3 different ways. One is practice by yourself. The other is practice with a person. And there's a third option, which is a little bit different, which I'll share about in a second. So what does practicing by yourself look like? Okay, so you get a business magazine that describes a business going through some kind of situation that's newsworthy, right? New product, new market, some kind of difficulty, going out of business, a merger and acquisition, things like that, right? And then you make up your own cases, right? Using that information from that business article, and you try to use the tools that are covered, in the YouTube videos and in the Case Interview Secrets book, and try to apply it to that situation and work through the process. Okay, so that's one scenario. The second, which is better, is to practice with somebody else, right? Find a partner, someone that's also going through the recruiting process. If you don't have a partner and don't know anybody going through the recruiting process, you can use my online matchmaking service. It's free. It's called caseinterviewpartner.com. And you input what time zone you're in, what language in the world you want to do your case practice in, and it matches you with other people who are available at the same times using the same language so you can practice cases. And so that's better because somebody else asks you questions that come up in the case, and you get used to this dynamic of, well, somebody's asking me to do math, right? And so I'll answer these questions. Having that pressure, I think, is a very useful skill. The third option is when the second option doesn't work, right? If you don't have anybody else to practice with, or their skill level isn't very high and you're worried you're practicing the wrong things. So I have a program called Look Over My Shoulder. And what it is, it's recordings of I think, total of 20 different candidates covering 8 different cases and showing you the recordings of what it sounds like, what's different between a poor performance and an exceptional performance. Right? And you start getting used to what an exceptional case sounds like. And it includes all my commentary around, okay, timeout, 2 seconds in or 2 minutes into the case, the candidate did this. This is what you want to do too. This is why it's considered a really good opening, and understand the rationale from the interviewer's point of view. So that is a premium program that's available on my website at caseinterview.com/LOMS. Look Over My Shoulder, LOMS or LOMS, and you can get more information about that. Okay, so that's what I would do sort of days 2 and then through day 6, right? 2 days of concept, 4 days of practice of the case. And then on the 7th day, I would work on math skills. And there are 2 math skills that you want to work on. So one is mental math, right? If you have a business with 9%, 9 million in sales at a 15% margin, profit margin, how much are the profits of the business, right? And you kind of have to roughly do the ballpark math and try to figure that out. And you don't always get a chance to use a calculator. Sometimes that's not allowed. Often that's not allowed, particularly if the numbers are ones where you should be able to do it in your head. Okay, so practice your math for a couple hours. I have an online math flashcard system that simulates the kind of math problems that you often get in case interviews. That flashcard system is free. It's at caseinterviewmath.com. And it shows you the accuracy scores of other people you're competing against and the speed scores of how fast you're able to do the math. My own scores are in there as well, so you can kind of compare your accuracy and your speed relative to my own for both basic math facts like multiplication, addition, subtraction, division, as well as kind of more complex math, right? Math with large numbers and percentages, which can get very confusing in terms of where the decimal point goes. So I would sort of do the morning of your 7th day, practicing sort of that baseline math. And then in the afternoon on your 7th day, I would practice something called estimation questions. And this comes up with often embedded within a traditional case interview. And it is to do rough approximation math, like if we have an industry with 100 million potential customers and 15% of them buy and can be qualified to purchase our particular product, what is the total market size, available for our client, and to be able to do those ballpark estimations. So I think that is a really useful skill. You don't want to over practice that if you only have 7 days. The core case is probably more important, but you want a little bit of practice of doing math with large numbers, doing estimations based off of an approximation of the size of the industry, the size of the population of a country, and only a certain portion are of the right type. That would be the client's customer. Like that kind of estimation, I think, is a really important skill. So that's what I would do if I had 7 days to practice. Hopefully you have more, and if you do, definitely use it. Your likelihood of getting an offer goes way up the more you practice. The magic number is right around 50 hours of practice, especially for those of my students of mine who've read the book, practiced with the Look Over My Shoulder program. They've gotten really good results when they put in the time. And so that's the best practice. And the best practice for 7 days is roughly to do what I just described. And good luck on your interview, and hope you get your offer. Thanks. Have a great day. For more information on management consulting and how to get a job in management consulting, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you'll be notified of when new videos are released. In upcoming videos, I'll focus on getting management consulting job interviews, preparing for the interview, and getting the job offer. You can subscribe by clicking the button below. You also want to visit my website at caseinterview.com to get my free case interview preparation program. You'll get instant access to preparation videos, case interview frameworks, and the largest collection of management consulting interview training resources available anywhere. Finally, please leave a comment on my video. I'd love to know what you think, what you learned, and if you have any additional questions that I might not have covered in enough detail. I'll use these comments as input for future videos. Thanks, and have a great day.